All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. We are going to be talking to the amazing Nikki Betz. She was gracious enough to fill in for me today. We had a last-minute schedule change, so our vendor call is actually going to be on Wednesday. I told you guys that we'd be talking to some of our vendors today. A couple of them had to reschedule, so we'll be talking to them on Wednesday, and I moved Nikki up, and she was flexible enough to do that for us. So, with that being said, how you doing, Nikki?
I'm good. Work.
So for those of you who don't know, Nikki and Drew, they run the largest Keller Williams team in our market. They did, over $50 million in production last year and 150 units, and they're still growing like crazy. And I've been having conversations with them. I've been having conversations with their team. The team's still busy. They're still busy. They're still servicing their clients at a high level. So just wanted to, give you guys the opportunity to ask Nikki some questions, because I know a lot of us are wondering, what should we be doing right now? How do we stay busy? How do we stay in activity and in the right mindset? And I think Nikki and our team are doing a great job with all those things. So why don't I just hand it over to you? You can tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing to, service your clients. I know you have you put together some fun things with your team to kind of get them focused on staying in action as well. So I'll hand it over to you.
So first off, it's as soon as this pandemic started, we were on an emergency call with our coach, figuring out, what we needed to do as leaders, because as leaders, it's our job to make sure that we state the facts, that we're truthful about what's happening, and we're an open book with our agents as well of, what we're planning to do over the next 90, 180 and year, because we know that it's going to have an effect. So the biggest thing that we did was we put a 90-day action blitz in place last week for all of our agents. Now, typically we have standards anyway that they have to abide by each week, but what we did is we really wanted them to take this time to not focus so much on the sales aspect of it. We wanted them just to reach out more so on how can we help, and if you are still interested in purchasing, this is the protocols that we're looking at doing. Because what we found is in our first couple days of calling, most people, they were still coming here. Drew had a client drive all the way from Arizona because they didn't want to get on a flight, so they drove instead, and they wrote a contract, and they're under contract now. So don't just assume just because of everything happening that they're still not interested. Start the conversation asking them, how are you doing? How's your family? What's your update? Is there anything we can do for you? And let the conversation roll from there. Doing virtual.
Can you tell us a little bit about that 90-day plan you talked about?
Yes. So your 90-day plan is we are doing a minimum of 200 contacts a week. So per shift, you should be doubling down on your activities. We know that now more than ever, it's going to take us maybe double, maybe triple the amount of conversations to get to their goals than what we originally saw. We're saying double right now. I honestly feel like it might be triple though, just because this is a situation the world has never seen before. So we're really pushing them to make sure that they don't let their foot off the pedal. We're also making sure that they are doing their own marketing with our marketing staff here, is that they're upping their game on video, coming up with creative ideas, thinking outside the box to reach those people and get them to interact, because everybody's at home working. So, and then also, coming up with fun ideas of how they can help while their kids are now at home, because so many of them are struggling with, they still have a job to do, but their kids are at home. And then working on our scripts. Every morning we have a 9 a.m. script call, because there's new conversations that they're coming across in those calls that they're making, to make sure that they know how to overcome those roadblocks that they may have struggled with, of something new that none of us have even heard yet. So we put our heads together to figure out the best script to work past that. The other thing is skinning the fat. Having real conversations with them of, look, this is where we're skinning the fat in our books, in our business. We have a constant eye on our P&L, even more so now. Drew and I are looking at it every day. We used to look at it every week. We are looking at it every day and making sure that we are skinning the fat, and we're doing the hard work that most stopped doing a little bit and laying off of in the past probably year, 2 years. Now we're doubling and tripling down on those activities.
So
we've told
them. Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So obviously your guys' business is very different than many realtors' business, because you have this large team you're operating. So you have some, additional expenses and things that, some people may not have to worry about. What are some examples though? Because in some ways your business is going to be similar to many
Correct.
other agents. So what are some things you're looking at getting really tight around when it comes to your expenses that other people could maybe take a look at in their business if they wanted to take the same approach?
Your mailers. So I've really cut back on our mailers because the return on investment on mailers is very hard, and it's more of a long-term effect that it's not worth the cost right now in order to make sure that we don't have to get rid of employees or we have to get rid of agents. That is Drew and I's ultimate goal, is that we never want to have to be up against that situation. So we're skinny that way of saying, we're going to be very selective on the mailers we do. We're not going to do it for everything. And it's going to be more so of hard ground sales on the concrete, making the calls, not door knocking right now, maybe later. That's probably not a smart idea. And coming up with new ways that we're, being more of service to our clients. So we've taken the time this weekend and last week to look at everybody's individual systems and make sure that we're fine tuning them and that they really are well oiled and that there's nothing that we need to add, or maybe we do need to add. We've already upped our game this year on video marketing. We're upping it even more. This whole week, I have scheduled out to film with Kyle this whole week because I really don't have any appointments now. So we need to make sure that we're reaching our clients elsewhere.
So what I'm hearing is if you cut something like mailers or cut back on something like mailers that has
Yep.
a cost associated with it, then now you can remove that cost. You're
Yep.
not giving your team the excuse of removing the lead generation activity. The expectation is
Exactly.
we're going to cut some costs here. We're going to not pay for some of the stuff we were paying for. So we all need to get on the phone and have the conversations and, that kind of stuff.
So where we've also moved some of the funds is we created a contest for them. Whether you make a contest for yourself or you make a contest for your team, it was a way to help motivate them to keep pushing through. And really our 9 a.m. call as well is we're constantly checking up with them to make sure that they're in the positive mindset. And while they are doubling down on their activities, we realized in last week and this week probably going forward, everybody has a ceiling of how many exhaustive conversations they can have about facts about coronavirus and COVID-19 and what we're doing to get past it and all of that. So what we developed was making sure that they are focusing on their meditation, exercise, diet, and their sleep. So we're wanting them, if they need to take extra meditation 15 minutes throughout the day, they need to do that. If they need to exercise twice a day so that they can stress relieve and kind of be free of those conversations and not be bothered by it, we want them to do that. I've done that because I realized that those stressful conversations with agents, clients, and our database has been very exhausting. So make sure that you're focusing on your own health. Otherwise, you won't be able to be a strong person getting through the next 90 days. Because honestly, it's the next 90 days that really count for you to make sure that you have a solid foundation and roots to go forward through the next 6 months after that.
Awesome. So it sounds like you said 200 calls or 200 contacts a week for each member of your team right now. What kind of results are they seeing from that activity that they maybe hadn't had in place previously, unless they were maybe in bold or they had something else, kind of moving them towards that level of activity?
Yep. So a lot of the calls, it's been interesting because we've dug into our database of ones that, we really didn't focus too much on. So we've dug into the ones that were more of what we call a watcher and archive because they thought the market was too high. So changing that script is saying, I understand that there's crazy things going on, but this is actually an opportunity for you to possibly get into the home that you didn't think you'd be able to, as we see a little bit of a shift in mindset of a seller as well. So it's actually brought in some of those buyers back that were taking a hold because they didn't like what they were seeing in the market of all the prices and being so high. So negotiating has been actually a little bit better. If you haven't capitalized or had that conversation of negotiating on both sides, whether it's a seller or a buyer, you need to make sure that you're practicing those scripts to really win those deals and put the light out there for them.
Awesome. And that kind of leads into the next question I had for you, which was on the client side. Tell me a little bit about what you guys are hearing from your clients. Are some people stepping away? Are they re-engaging like you just said? What's kind of what trends are you seeing there?
So it depends on what market. We've really zeroed it into different segments. So our luxury market, we have seen a bigger hit on. Those buyers are definitely on a halt because they are the ones who have had the biggest hit in the stock market financially. So whether it means that they're halting or they are, like one I talked to the other day, went from 650,000 to wanting to purchase 400, 450 now, because they still want to move here and still purchase, just they're reassessing what their financial status is. So they're taking out some needs and wants in their list to redo their search campaign. Now, when you're in the bread and butter market, honestly, that has not changed much. All of those buyers, we've still been showing a lot. I know Carrie and David have. Drew has been too. So it's just having the right conversation with them and having empathy. So if they are saying that, you know what, we're just going to hold off because we're a little nervous about what's going on in the market, say, I can definitely understand that and appreciate that. What's making you nervous? We made sure that we had all of our agents on an economic webinar to know what the difference from 2008 to now is. 2008, if you haven't studied this or know, I definitely advise you to go out and research it, or talk to any of our lenders. O'Day and Dusty are a wonderful wealth of information on that. There's a huge difference from a recession at 2008 to a recession right now. We have PTSD in America right now of recession, meaning, oh my gosh, there's a housing bubble burst. That's not it at all. Most recessions did not have a depreciation. Most of them still had an appreciation. So having the right facts and the right conversation with a client can really change their mindset and calm their fears.
So what are you doing to enable your agents to be able to have those conversations? Are you guys doing scripts or training, or what are you doing?
Every morning at 9 a.m. we have a script training. In our team meetings, we're going over those scripts. We're giving them real conversations that Drew and I have had or other agents have had. Why are you blurry? You're on here blurry. So we made sure that they know what to say and they have the tools. And we want them to feel confident in those conversations first. So making sure that they have all of those facts and that information, and they can feel confident in that conversation is all of it. Because if you're not confident in what you're saying, it's not going to go well.
Right. Awesome. So, I mean, those are kind of the questions I had for you. If there's anything else you'd like to just share with the team that you've been thinking about this past week or two, I'd love for you to do that, or I can kind of get some.
Well, just one is open houses, guys. Like, this is an opportunity for you if you have not gone into the virtual world or video. Please explore it, because it's a huge asset to still provide high level value to your sellers without them feeling like, oh, it's doom and gloom. There's nobody looking at my house because of right now, and my house isn't being seen. You have other ways to see it. Our virtual tours yesterday, between all of them, we had, I think it was over 5,000 views for all of them. So that's amazing. And that's eyes that we didn't normally have on that home. And even it doesn't even mean that they're looking to move, but maybe it's a thought in their brain in the next 6 months. So use that. There's a couple different platforms you can do. I use Zoom just because I like Zoom, and I can pre-record it beforehand and not have to be tied down for a whole day. Or you can go live at your listing. If it's owner occupied or vacant, just make sure it's good with the seller that you're there during all of this. And then prepare. Make sure that you have a plan set in place, whether it's a basket in your car with a mask, gloves, sanitization wipes, multi-purpose wipes. We've done that for all of our agents and put them at all of our listings so that other agents going in can grab them. Now, I haven't checked yet, but I'm sure some of them are probably stolen by now, but we'll see. But just make sure you have a plan there. And then you can also, I know Tim is using Blue Jeans. I have not used Blue Jeans, but I like Zoom preferably just because you can go through a 3D tour. Play around with it, do it a couple times on your own, watch the video so then you can critique it. And yeah, that's my big tip to y'all.
And Zoom's free if you guys do. I mean, they have a free account you can use. It's great for one-on-one meetings. Those are unlimited. If you do group meetings like this, it's a limit of 40 minutes per meeting. But I'd imagine that's long enough for you to kind of accomplish what you need to do in that scenario. Obviously, for us, we have a pro account because we have a lot more people getting on here. We want to record the calls and all that sort of stuff. But the free version of Zoom will work for just about any agent and what they're going to be doing with it. Mm-hmm. Are you having any virtual conversations with your clients, or is it more just the en masse kind of social media stuff and virtual?
Yep, we're doing virtual as well. I had a couple sellers who were not able to come into town. because they're from Canada. So those two sellers I have actually done virtual with. And here's the good thing, guys, is Canadians, if they have homes here, they want to sell them right now. They're eager to. So that's a little tip of a mass market. Airbnbs, this is the other one. A lot of Airbnbs have had cancellations, and I know a handful of Airbnb owners that I reached out to this morning already, because I know they can't make their mortgage payment if they don't have rentals. So that usually means they have to sell. So make sure I know it's hard to look at that positive side in such a weird situation, but you have to if you want to make it through. So
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that if you know somebody who's in that situation, right, whether it's an Airbnb owner or whatever, but somebody needs to sell their home, right? It's not just a want, right? Like this was a investment for us. If we don't have it getting rented out, we can't make that payment. It's going to get foreclosed on, all that sort of stuff. You're helping them achieve their goal, right? It's not like you're just looking for another sale. This is why we have databases. This is why we have relationships with the people in our databases, because at the end of the day, our goal is to help serve them in whatever need they have. And, would you rather take care of someone you have a relationship and do a really good job and get them the best possible outcome possible, or risk some other realtor who maybe isn't going to do a good job with them and service them at the best of their ability? So, be available for these people to help them out, whether it's just a conversation, a check-in like Nikki's talking about, or if they do have a real estate need. That's what we're here for, is to help service them at a high level.
the best seller conversation to have right now is, if they're wanting to hold off and on the fence, is there's a couple aspects here. Is we still have low inventory and there are still buyers looking. Don't let them tell you there's no buyers looking, because I can guarantee you there is. B, interest rates are still low. C, the comps for their home are still there. We can't guarantee that in 90 days or 6 months that those comps are going to be there to get their equity out of their home. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 30, 60, 90 days. So now time is of the essence to list their home, to maximize on it, and with interest rates low as well.
Awesome. So guys, with that, I want to open up the floor, because we've got a whole bunch of people. We've got about 50 people on this call right now. I've been muting you all as you jumped on because we were getting some background noise. So please unmute yourself if you have a question. Anytime I unmute everybody, it just gets a little chaotic. So unmute yourself if you have a question. We'd love to hear from you right now. Come on, guys. There's a lot of new people on here that haven't been on before.
It's Monday morning. They're not awake yet.
Mike Polachek, I see you finally got your camera working. Don't make me call on you.
Hi, this is Kristen.
Hi.
Miss Kristen.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. I just want to say that I've reached out to, several people over the past, obviously on a regular basis. And during this past week, within all this chaos that's happened, I've had 3 people that had previously ghosted me, like in the past 5 to 6 months, actually finally respond to my communications and say that they are still planning to come out here and planning. Another investment client said that he was planning on coming out here from Canada once, the ban was lifted. And so there's 3 people there, which I was very surprised to hear from finally, that hadn't, responded to any of my past communications. So definitely there's still some activity out there once this is all over, and I'm going to, remain in contact with people.
So, and for those of you who don't know, Kristen's actually on Nikki's team. Kristen, do you think all the extra activities, phone calls, expectations around what you guys should be spending your time on from Nikki and Drew is helping you with your business right now?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, just when I thought that I would literally have to trash these people, they've obviously, they've seen all my communications. They just haven't responded, but definitely they're going to be, they're going to be basically back in. And I have 2 closings coming up over the next week and a half, and those people are still on. And I was really nervous about it, but they're okay. There's one woman where, she's still kind of, I can I know she's a little nervous about it, but I've tried to reassure her as best as I can. And then there's another buyer from out of state that's driving in today. That's, you know, and they said, oh, it's a bad time to sell the house. And I said, well, if anything, there might be some good deals out there, but I wouldn't worry about it. But he's a buyer, but he's also having to sell his house up north. So he said, well, it's the best one in our community right now. So, you know, he feels positive about that.
Yeah, and to that point, so you guys will be you guys, if you haven't already gotten them, or you probably have, will be getting a lot of calls from the staff, just a couple times a week, checking in, seeing how things are going, see what you need from us. You know, last week I had Alex, my assistant Alex, calling all the agents who had pendings this month, who had turned in their green sheets or whatever, and they had deals closing before the end of the month. And she said out of all the calls that she made to every agent that had a pending deal coming up, there were only 2 cancellations, and those didn't have anything to do with Corona or the stock market. They were just like normal real estate things that had happened, inspections or whatever. But she said she didn't have a single agent tell her that their deal was off because of everything that's going on. So it's definitely not doom and gloom. Like, that's a little bit of what these calls are about every day, is staying in the right mindset, staying in activity, moving our business forward, and continuing to service our clients at a high level.
Dig into your database. Even those who you think were not it, you need to give them a call, send them a bomb, send them a text, because you would be surprised at the people answering right now, because they're at home, they're bored. What else do they have to do? So it's going to be on their mind. They know that this is not a forever thing and it's going to end. So make sure that you're there and the first person they think of when they are ready.
Yep, absolutely. So who else? Who's got a question? Guys, I don't often have a $50 million producer sitting here captive to answer your questions. So even if it's not about coronavirus, speak up. What's your question?
Hey, Nikki. Are you seeing a lot of your investors wanting to put in low ball offers right now, or are you not seeing that as much?
That would be a Drew question, and Carrie, because they mainly work with our investors. I haven't really seen any, though, of the offers that I've seen go in. Typically, they've been pretty solid offers that they've been writing that are going in. I have had a couple bank-owned properties that people wanted to put offers in on. They put them in, and then they wanted to pull them because they just think that the bank's going to come down in price now with everything going on. So I can't really let you know too much because I don't work with many investors on it.
But reach out to Drew. Everybody's got his number.
Yeah,
give him a call, and he'll be happy to answer that for you. Anybody else?
Hey, Nikki, it's Maureen. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for doing this. So one thing I heard you say that's really important, and I'd really like to reiterate that with you, is the fact that right now, for the next 90 days, our comps are going to hold. I went through this in 2007 and 2008, and after that, you know as well as I do that the market really tanked, and it took years and years and years to get our equity back. So I think that's such an important conversation to be having with people right now. First of all, after you've asked them how they're doing, but just to let them know that we know what's happening in the market, what the consequences of delaying decisions is, because that is going to be a major factor in this marketplace.
For sure, definitely, because we don't know. It's uncharted water. And, you know, there was a graph that we had, I think we put it out on Instagram. I'll ask Hannah to post it in Facebook, but how the 10-year treasury and mortgage rates would follow each other. Last week was the first week that it didn't follow. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future here with everything, because this is worldwide and not just like a hurricane or a terrorist attack. This is worldwide. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yep, and also a great opportunity to call the people you've already sold for or to and tell them about refinancing.
Yep.
You know, what a great connection. So thank you for doing this, and you're always a font of information.
No problem.
And
make sure you talk to our lenders, guys, because the lenders, they're amazing wealth of information to help you understand the treasury, mortgage rates, how it all works, the refi rates, why they jumped up this last couple of weeks was because they just could not catch up with the flow. So just make sure you're meeting with them regularly. We meet with them every week to find out what the updates are, that we can relay that to our team. So make sure you're reaching out to them.
And remember, we're actually going to have Dustin from Bank of England, Ryan Featherstone from Dunlap Moran, and then Heather from Goosehead Insurance all on our call on Wednesday morning, just to kind of share with you guys what's happening in those pieces of our business and give you guys the opportunity to ask some questions. You know, maybe you haven't been coming into the office to see our vendors as much lately because we haven't been coming to the office as much. So a great opportunity for you guys to ask questions. We're going to have them each just talk for a few minutes about what they're seeing and then just kind of open up the floor so you guys can get that information that you're looking for.
Wonderful.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Hey, Karen, I have a question for Nikki. Nikki, is your team calling on that people that are not in your database to say we just sold one of your neighbors' homes? And if they're doing that, how are they received?
We have been, and I will tell you, last week was a bit disheartening. So I limited the time that they were doing it. I wanted them to still do it, but I also had them set aside a specific time that they were doing the majority of our database instead, where we used to focus a lot of time on that circle prospecting. Like I said earlier, is you have a max amount of conversations you can have that are negative and changing somebody's mindset before you're physically, emotionally exhausted. So we really limited that time. We did not do our circle prospecting the full time last week. We only did it for like an hour, hour and a half, just because it was exhausting. So still do it. I definitely think you need to, because there are people out there who are looking to sell because they do question what the market's going to do. So have those conversations, because their realtor might not be answering. I know a lot of realtors right now who are just taking the time off, and that is not what you need to be doing. I will reiterate that a million times to you all. You do not need to be taking this time off. You need to be working the next 90 days.
Hey, Rosa, you had a question. You're having trouble with your microphone. I just unmuted you, so you should be able to ask your question now.
I see your question there. Rosa, yes, we do spend money in leads. So 50% of our business is leads that we pay for, whether it be through our own marketing through Facebook, Google Ads, YouTube videos, or online leads. So now is not the time to be backing away from those, for sure, because you want to make sure that you still have that bread and butter there for your business while you're making sure you're tweaking the other things and getting better at your others. What Debbie Latuga called it a couple years ago, our other spoke it. We have one spoke it we're really good at, and we're keep continuing going around the circle to make sure all of our spoke it's are well tuned. So
awesome. So guys, we got about a minute left. If anyone has any other questions, jump in. Otherwise, I'll wrap us up.
I wanted to ask a quick question. Thank you, Nikki, for doing this. I just wanted to ask, what has your rep been as far as like people saying, well, why are you out showing homes? Like, you should be home. Like, I just went and showed a bunch of homes yesterday, about 10 homes. And I guess I was happy to do it. I wasn't worried. I sanitized between each home. But I guess I'm not really posting that on my Facebook page, only because I just don't know how people are going to view it, and if they're going to see that as like, oh, I wouldn't want to hire someone like that because they're not really taking care of the general public's safety.
So here's my theory on this, is that knowing your facts, knowing the facts of how many people recover from it, how it gets transmitted out. So if you are following the proper protocols of not having more than 10 people, and I'm actually more of a substitute for having more than 5, because if you're with 10 people one day and 10 the next, it kind of just is a trickle effect. Aside from that, having your multi-purpose wipes, having your mask, your gloves, making sure that you give them to your clients so that they can wipe down the handle as well when they walk in, and you're not touching anything that you don't need to in a home. There's nothing more that you can do outside of there. I mean, they're sending people back with masks on when they're at the hospital. So, I mean, you can't really control everything. So if they're not wanting to work with you solely because of that, they don't see the value, and honestly probably is not somebody you want to work with either. And my opinion of what I found. I haven't had any backlash from it at all because we are doing it safely. We were ahead of the game and made sure that we got all the baskets ready 2 weeks ago and had them out with notes to help our sellers and other agents alongside during those showings. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Still be safe though. Don't not do it, because otherwise you could put yourself at risk. Don't have any people in your car. My husband had to do that on Saturday. He did not have them in the car with him. They followed behind him.
Okay, thank you. And then Mike Polachek, Joanne said you had something you wanted to maybe share from a conversation you had this morning.
Yeah.
No, just I had an interesting conversation on did a listing at 7:45 this morning via the phone, and one of the guys, he's on the national pandemic board,
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying that the state of Florida with our UV rays is has the influenza right now, or flu, is at 7.2%, which is the highest it's been in years. But he said UV rays, we know, kills the flu. He said now with COVID-19 it'd be interesting. He was just saying, get out in the sun, sort of get those rays in. He says, because again, he wants to list his property. He thinks there's opportunity for Florida because we recover quicker than other areas of the country. Mm-hmm. So that was his whole message. I'll have another conversation with him later today. So I'll get some more information hopefully for tomorrow. But it was really interesting.
One of the things that we're encouraged to do by KW and our MAPS coaches is not to continue to call it a pandemic. I know that's what it is, but to call it a health crisis, because when we say the word pandemic, we're causing more fear. So during this health crisis, so just maybe adjust your script a little bit, and yes, continue to do your care calls. And it is amazing how many people I reached out to that are asking if we're okay.
And something
checking in
that
on us.
I had a client who actually works at the hospital and has been working like 14-hour days. If you know anybody that you have sold or any your client database, reach out to them. If they're elderly too, go to the grocery store for them so they don't have to go out and go drop it at the door. Or if they have school items this week, a lot of people have to go pick up all their kids' items for homeschooling. If they work at the hospital, I picked up their stuff and dropped it at their door, wiped it all off beforehand. They're obviously wiping it off again because they could not get to the school during the hours that they needed to. So just be of service to them, and that will go a long way in the future for you.
Right. Awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much. I wanted to remind you about a couple of things. First off, we've been recording these calls every day, so you can go back and you can hear what Kim and Phil Paxton, Andy Shearer, Bruce Heron, Charles Latonis, Gary Turner have all had to share with you guys on their calls. There were a lot of great questions and conversations on those calls too. They're all recorded, posted to our YouTube channel, posted to our Facebook group. And then, of course, this week we have Patrick Rogley is going to be on our call tomorrow. Patrick's going to be talking a lot around lead generation, right? We all know Patrick's a lead gen machine, so he's going to be sharing with us around what he's doing around lead generation. And right before we go, I see Erica Hoffman raised her hand. Erica, do you have a question? Or did you do that by accident?
No, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if this was something that's been brought up before, but one thing that we have implemented to our showing time remarks, including the property description on all of our active listings, is that video walkthroughs and FaceTime videos are welcome and accommodated, and that's something that we're really emphasizing on through social media as well. So I don't know if that's something that you guys talked about before. That's something that we've done, and yeah, people love that idea.
Yep, I agree. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but I think it's a great point.
Okay.
We're doing to engage with our clients. And then Seth, you have your hand raised real quick, Seth, because we are over time. What's your question?
Yeah, so, I've got one box of masks and one box of gloves that I'd like to conserve. I don't know how to figure out what I need to do with like those UV rays that Mike Polachek was talking about. But can I just like leave them out in the sun for a day or 3 days, or what is it going to take to make these gloves and masks reusable again?
Yeah, I don't think anybody on here is qualified to answer that question. We're not scientists, but you may be able to do a little research on that. Obviously, use them at the times you need to use them. I know they're hard to come by right now. You know, I've been getting up on the weekend and getting in line at Target. So I'm first person in to get my stuff when I need it, and I haven't had an issue with that. If you wait till midday, then everything's gone. But you may be able to do some research on that, Seth. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I just figured it's, yeah. Anyway, all right, cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kieran, for everything that you do. And thanks to Joanne and Greg. You guys have been a huge help for us this last couple weeks, and we appreciate it so much.
All right,
Appreciate
guys.
you. Thank you.
Same bat channel, same bat time tomorrow, 8:30 with Patrick Rogley. We'll see you then. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.